Hello and welcome to the second video on how to use Microsoft PowerPoint to create simulations. To create simulations using PowerPoint involves several steps. I have reduced these steps to just 4 steps, which you can use if you are a beginner. I'm assuming you have basic knowledge of PowerPoint and have used it or are intending to use PowerPoint to teach. So I will not waste your time showing you how to create slides and other basic procedures. I will just mention this in the passing. Before I begin, it is important to realize that my aim is to make your teaching as effective as possible. So I will show you how to create a clear, simple simulation, and then you can apply these ideas from this video to create simulations of your own. This implies that even if you do not teach physics or understand the concepts I will be talking about, you will still learn useful skills of how you can create simulations of your own using PowerPoint. So please do not be intimidated when I mention any physics concepts. The aim of the video is not to teach you any physics concepts. The aim of this video is to show you how you can use PowerPoint to create any simulation of your choice. The steps involve drawing the diagram using either PowerPoint directly or using Microsoft Word and then transferring it to PowerPoint for simulation purposes. Previously, I have created a video showing you how you can use Microsoft Word to draw a diagram. So if you have not watched it, make sure you do so. The second step is to do further enhancement on the drawing so that it appears neat and presentable. This stage involves application of formatting techniques to the drawing. The third step is, of course, to add simulation to your drawing so that it does what you intended it to. The last step is, of course, to design engagement activities for your students, since we know effective teaching involves properly planned engagement of your learners. So I hope you have already subscribed so that you do not miss these videos when I upload them. So let's jump right into the first step. Of course, the first step is to decide on the diagram which I want to draw. In most of the cases, you find that you can either draw your diagram from scratch, that is offhand, because you understand how the diagram looks like. But in most cases, teachers usually draw diagrams which they find in textbooks. And I want to use that approach because it will apply to most of the teachers. So I've chosen this diagram here. It is a figure of the vernier calipers. A vernier calipers has 2 jaws. There is a fixed jaw and there is a sliding jaw. Just like I had shown you in the simulation that there was a part which was moving. That part which was moving is referred to as the sliding jaw, and it carries the vernier scale. Otherwise, the main scale is found on the fixed jaw. So having decided that this is the diagram that I want to use, and one of the reasons I've decided to do that is because I can make this part to move. You find that when it is on a piece of paper, of course we don't expect anything to happen, but I can use PowerPoint to make this part to move. So the first thing is to draw this diagram. There are 2 methods I can use. I can decide to look at the diagram and then draw it from point to point, or I can decide to do what we call tracing. So I'm going to use the second method to trace. So for this method to work, you need to have this diagram in your computer. Like for example, you can see I have it in my computer and it is a PDF file. So what I did is to scan this page, and then of course I can have the diagram on my computer screen as shown as a PDF file. You could also take a photograph of that picture on the page and then just put that picture in your computer using the normal ways that we do upload files to our computers. So those are 2 methods that you can use. What I want to have is just a diagram which is in my computer and I can be able to see it. So once I have this diagram here, The next thing is to get a screenshot of this diagram onto a Microsoft Word page or a PowerPoint page. So I'm going to use the first method. I'm going to have a screenshot of this diagram in Microsoft Word. So over here, I have opened a page in my Microsoft Word. The next thing is to get a screenshot of that diagram here. So like, for example, when you look at the icons which are opened here, I've got that diagram. It's over here. And then I will now go to the second icon, which is the Microsoft Word page. Then I'm working in the orientation of, I want landscape because I like to deal with large diagrams. When you're drawing diagrams, usually make sure that they are very, very large so that you don't have to use the zoom most of the time. So make sure that the diagrams that you draw are as large as possible. The next thing is that the margins are very narrow because I want to utilize as much of this page as possible. Of course, you can customize that and make sure that it is as wide as possible, but I think narrow margin is enough. So when the cursor is somewhere around here, because I want my diagram to go right at the center, we come to home and then center the cursor here, so that when I do the cropping, my diagram will be right here at the center. So how do I do that? I go to Insert tab, and then I will go to Screenshot, then click on that arrow there. The diagram which you want will be the first one here, but don't click this part because it will come as a whole screen. Just come to Screen Clipping over here, click that, and then now I can make a choice. You see this plus sign here? I can move it to one corner, somewhere around here, because I know the moment I left click, hold and drag, it's going to cover all this. Up to that point would be enough because I do not need all this labeling at all. I don't need them. So I'm just going to crop my diagram up to that point, and then I release. The moment you release, your diagram immediately comes here. So you've got a neat large diagram. After that, I want to insert. I want this diagram to be in the drawing canvas. So I'll come somewhere here, put my cursor there. It's at the center, but then I want it to go to the next page. So I can press enter so that the cursor goes to the next page and it is at the center. So at this point, I'm going to put my drawing canvas. So on the Insert tab, I'll go to Shapes, click it, and then I'll come all the way to the bottom here. I'll get this new drawing canvas. Click that, and I have my drawing canvas over here. So I'm going to make it fill almost the whole page like that. You can see it is always at the center. If I had put that drawing canvas when the cursor was at the edge, it will be on one side of the page, but now it is neatly at the center. Do not make it so large because it will move outside the margins. So I think that one is comfortable enough. So at this point, I now want to put this diagram right inside the canvas. So I'll come, the moment I left click, there will be this boundary here. Then I'm going to copy, Control C. I've copied that diagram. I come into the canvas here and then Control V to paste. So, and I have put my diagram right inside the canvas. Now I'm ready to start tracing, so to speak, because I want to trace this diagram here. So there will be two sections. There will be the fixed jaw and there will be the sliding jaw. I'm going to trace them separately. And let's do exactly that. So again, I'll come to insert here, and then I'll go to shapes. Then over here, you will be able to locate this shape here for drawing. This one here, freeform. Click on it. It allows you to start tracing this figure here. And you can start from this point. You can see where the plus sign is. If I start from that point, that is where I'm going to end at. So I click and then I release. You can see I'm carrying that line. I come to this corner over here, click again. You can see now I'm carrying that other line there. Come to this corner, click, continue like that, using all the corners. Then when I reach somewhere here, you find that my simulation just had sharp corners because I did not bother to round up those edges. I'll be showing you how to round up the edges if you're interested. But for this simple simulation here, I'm just going to use this. Then I'll come all the way to the end here. I want this section to be as long as possible, so I might come all the way up to that end, because when I get my sliding jaw, I want it to move through large distances. Then I'll come to some point here. I'll show you something else. Over here, I need to have used a grid in order to guide me where this one is. You see, I don't know whether it's somewhere around here or up here, but if I had a grid here, I'll be able to tell where that horizontal line is. Even the vertical line, I'm not so sure if I click here, it will be a good vertical, but I'll show you how to adjust those just in case you make a mistake. So I'm going to assume that it is somewhere around there. Click, bypass that point, come to that point, click again, and then when I reach somewhere around here, I click, and then I come back to this point. Notice what happens. See, the moment you click that, you have traced that part of your diagram. Now I'm going to show you another method which you can use. For that method, I'm going to use for this part. Now, how many layers do I have here? I've got my canvas, which is this one here. Then I've got my screenshot, which is this one here. And then on top of the screenshot, I've got this traced diagram, which I'm going to use later on. Now, if I were to start tracing these, you see that I can't be able to see it. So I need to put this drawing that I've just got by tracing the fixed jaw below this screenshot. How do I do that? I just come to formatting. See that formatting there? And then I come to this group of tabs here, bring forward or send back. I think I want to send it back. Then I click this arrow here, there. Then send to back. It will be behind everything. I hope it's not going to be behind the canvas, but even if it is, we know how to resurrect it. So I'm going to click that, and you can see it's gone behind this image here, which is good because my image reaches up to this point. I mean, my drawing, this drawing here, just reaches this point. Now it's behind. That allows me to see this. That one is a good technique when you're working with the several images and maybe the one you're working on is below another one. You know now how to put it behind so that the one which you want to work on comes right here. Now let's come to the sliding jaw. You see this sliding jaw has got some kind of window here. Some kind of window. If I use that process of tracing using the freeform tool like that, it's going to close the window, it's going to block the window, and I don't know how I can make a hole here. So I'm going to use a tool which resembles this, some kind of frame. So I go back to the tab Insert. I go to Shapes, and then I look for a frame. See this one here? The moment I hover the cursor, you can see that word, frame. Click on that. Then I come and put it here. So I'm going to shape this frame to take the shape of this sliding jaw. So let me move it somewhere around here. So I can use the corners. First of all, I bring one corner over here. In fact, I'll want this to be as long as possible because I'll want to make the vernier scale to be large enough. So I'll have to move it this way so that it is as long as possible. This part can be somewhere around here. And I've got this window. This is the window which I want. So let me move this part over there. And these are the part over here. There. Now, how do I shape the rest of this frame so that it takes this shape? It's very simple. Just watch. First of all, I think this window is just too wide. You see this yellow dot here? If I left click on it and drag, see? It changes the size of the window. So let me just make that window to be that much, although that later on I can come and change its size, so it's not really a big deal. Now let us start formatting this shape here, or rather changing this shape so that it fits exactly what we want. For instance, I want to move this so that at least I can have, do I want this one to be circular or straight? I want it to be straight. So I'm going to start bending this line from this point. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to left click. Once it is highlighted, I come to one of these dots here, or to the edge of the diagram, and then I right click. Once I right click, I'm going to have this menu here, and then I come to this part here, edit points. I click on that, and you can see that the shape has changed. Now the corners are dark. So I'm going to put a dot here, one of the points here, edit points here. Once I'm at that line, I click on that, and I want to put a dot at that point. Yeah, that is what I'm looking for. This plus, you can see that kind of sign there with a small square at the center. Let me increase the zoom so that we are able to see exactly what is happening. So let me use 200. Yeah, that's much better. Let me drag one of the points to start with. Maybe there is something that I'm not doing that is supposed to be done. So I'm going to drag one of the points like that. And then I put a point somewhere around here. Let me see whether it will agree. There. That's the point that I wanted to put. That point. So I'll drag it back here. When I left click, it tells me that it is a corner point. So I'm going to drag this other point here down so that now the shape bends about that point, like that. Now I've now taken that corner downwards, and it is at this point that now I want to put another point here so that I can start bending my diagram from here. Of course, I can always change this later on. I bring that corner there. You can see now it's taking shape. Although this one now has curved, in order to change it into a straight line, you come back to the same line, left click. Over here, you can change straight segment. Click on that and it gives you a straight line. Now the next is to move a point, and I can move this one so that it comes all the way up to that point so that it is vertical. Now if I had some sort of grid here, it can give me very good verticals. Now I really don't know now what is happening here because it's hidden that point. So what I'll do, I'll move back and decide to do this. I can start working on this other section. Maybe I'll come to that one later on. Can move to that point there. Again, add a point. Add another point there. Go vertical. You've got to be careful here because now you have two lines which are overlapping and you don't want that to happen. So I've just put it slightly by the side so that I can come later and correct that. Put a point there. Of course, it's a corner point. I'm going to slide it, that section. Slide this other one like this. Add a point there. Slide it vertical. Again, there I've got to turn it sideways a bit because I don't want to mess up with that point. Add a point. Move it to that point. It's a corner point. You've really got to be careful at this point, and then bring it to that point, and you can see our diagram is almost taking shape. It's taking shape. Add another point here. Slide it to that point, and then we want to see actually what has happened here. So let me move it like that so that I can be able to see. Over here, I can actually add a point. I want to move it. First of all, I want to make this part. No, let me first of all add a point here. Add another point here. Move this one this way. And then add another point here. Bring this one to this corner. You can see all this funny curving. I can remove it. Just right click. Oh, I've messed there. Right click, straight segment. Again, I don't need this point, so delete that. It goes straight. So what I need to do is now move this one to this point here and straighten this segment here. Make it straight and make it straight. You can see. So initially, what did I have? I had a frame. And now I was able to change the shape of that frame just by using these simple things that we always see. When you get these shapes, because I know most people, once they get these regular shapes, like for example the square, they put it somewhere around here. By accident, you can even left click there. Most people usually ignore this. You see these edit points here? they allow you to change this shape. The reason why I'm saying that this skill can be used in any subject is this. Let us say you are drawing any diagram and you don't know how that diagram actually, and you want to trace the diagram. For example, now I want to trace what is inside here. You can see that one of the challenges that we had was to see through this so that we can be able to see this diagram here. And because we cannot be able to see this shape, I can change the transparency of this cube. All I need to do is come to Format, come to Shape, Fill, and then I say No Fill. The moment I click that, it's only the boundaries which will be seen, and I'll be able to see what lies behind there. You can see we had that problem over here where we could not be able to see what was here. And so we went to the trouble of trying to work it from the other section instead of working blindly, but we would have used that. All I need to do is just select the shape, come to Shape, Fill, and then No Fill. You can see that color has disappeared, and now it can allow me to align any section of this diagram. I can be able to align it properly. For example, I can be able to see that over here, this one is not a proper vertical. It is slant like this, and I need a proper vertical. As a matter of fact, when it comes to search where I need proper vertical, proper horizontal, like I said, we need to put a grid here. Let me show you how we can do that. So let's go back to the 100% view there. Now at this point, I can get rid of this diagram here. I can get rid of it. All I need to do is click and delete. And once I've removed it, I remain with the sliding jaw and the fixed jaw. The other thing was, you realize that over here we had to put the fixed jaw below our screenshot because it was objecting the sliding jaw. We wanted to see the sliding jaw. We would have used the same technique. For example, let me resurrect it from where it is. It's behind there. So I will come to Format, Shape, Bring Forward, and I bring it right on top of everything. See, this is the problem we had. We couldn't be able to see this shape. You can see that now we can be able to use that aspect. Just select it. It's already selected. Come to Shape, Fill, and remove that. We make it transparent. But remember, its boundaries are still there. Its boundaries are still there. The problem of that is that when you're working on the two of them, this one and this one, sometimes you might not know which line you're working on. The only thing that can make you know which lines belong to which shape is when you right click and you put in the edit points. You see this shape? It's got those edit points along the edges. That's the only way you can know. But I've taught you the two methods whereby you can always put the topmost shape, the shape you're working on at the topmost point, and that will solve the problem. Or you can make the shape to be transparent. So actually, we don't need this square. So let me just delete that. And of course, we agreed that we do not need this shape here. So again, I can delete it. Now you can see I have two shapes. Oh, this one is a little bit messed up. I need to straighten that point. How do I straighten this point? Very easy. I just select it and then right click over there. Then edit points. Then come to this section here. Again, right click, straight segment, and it goes straight. You can see that simple skill is very, very important when you're drawing diagrams. I'm sure you have learned something here that's going to help you to draw any shape. Now, we remember that there was a problem with these sections where I made them straight instead of being curved so that they can look like the actual vernier. Select, right click, edit points, and then when I come to this line here, let me see whether when I right click, it can enable me to curve the segment. So when I click, it becomes curved, and I can edit it now to try and shape that curve properly so that it looks like what I want it to be. So you can experiment on this so that you can know how to form various shapes on your diagram. However, I don't need to go into that right now because I want to do a bit of formatting on this diagram. Rather, I want to make sure that the edges which are vertical, they're absolutely vertical, and those which are horizontal, they're absolutely horizontal. And here we are going to use the grid. So let me undo these changes here. And I have my previous straight line. In order to undo any changes, you always use these commands for undo and to redo curved segment. So I'm going to put a grid into this canvas, rather into this page. So what am I going to do? Say insert, I come to shapes, I just get one line here, click, and I've got this straight line. Then I want to align it all the way with the bottom part of the page. Bottom part of the page. I just want to ensure that this line is absolutely vertical. So I want to move it now to the edge, like that. You can click on it and then drag it all the way to the edge, like that, so that you can ensure that it is parallel to the edge. And you can see it is not parallel to the edge. That tells you that it's not absolutely vertical. So you just need to grab one of the edges here and move it until it is parallel to the edge there. And then I don't want it to go all the way to the edge. Maybe that is a problem. Okay, move it to that point, and you can see, actually it can just barely be seen. Let's format it to make it a little bit thicker. Go to format, come here. I want a very fine line, thin line, but visible. And we've got our line there, and let me move it to any part of my diagram. And you can see the moment I move it to that point, okay, that point is vertical. How about this other edge? Is this edge vertical? Yes, it is. How about this? You can definitely see that this one is not vertical. Yeah. And I can definitely see that this one is not horizontal. How about the other one here? You can see those parts are not the way they're supposed to be. I can decide to use one line, or I can have several lines so that I can make sure that my diagram is very proportional. So over here we have seen that our diagram has taken good shape. Although we've not finished with it, we've still got to do further formatting on it. Although for some people, this diagram may just be good enough. But we know for display on a screen, when we are having a lecture, this may not be attractive to the student. So we want something that is going to be very attractive, something which looks almost like the real object. The reason why we want to do this is because we know that learners, especially young ones, are attracted to a visual objects, or they are attracted to those things that look very nice and neat. So really we want to attract or capture the attention of our learners by making sure that Our diagrams are very neat, very clear, and very attractive. So we are going to carry out further formatting on this image so that it looks almost like the real vernier calipers. So ensure that you don't miss my next video.